So agenda, we're going to get into the visitor journey, of course. So visitor kind of pre-customer area. Then we're going to get into data to prioritize. So everyone nowadays is talking about data, what like things you should capture. So we're going to break it down to like what we see has really worked as far as like using it elsewhere in your channels. And then holiday offers. Kind of thinking outside the box from those classic just discounted offers and getting everyone's point of view on what they think about site-wide versus others. So we have our speakers. We'll do quick intros here. You have SJ here from Justuno. So I will be speaking from the on-site perspective because at Justuno, we're all about getting someone from one point to the other to ideally get that conversion for you in the end. But we know there's so many steps in between actually getting to that conversion. So that's where pop-ups come into play and actually engaging with someone and then seeing all that really good data in the back end to understand how people actually behave on your website. So lots to share from that point of view. Nava, can we get an intro from you, please?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, Nava Hopkins from Optimizer. Just so that you guys know, Optimizer helps you manage your Google, your Microsoft, your Amazon, your paid social. So all of the insights I'm going to be focusing on sharing will focus on the paid media side with some slight CRO empathy. So happy to weigh in on that conversation as well. Also really excited to hear where you guys are planning to invest your hard-earned marketing dollars, because let's face it, you end up having to play favorites. So really excited for the conversation.
Heck yes, Nava, I'm excited to hear from you. Brett, can we get an intro from you, please?
Of course, SJ. Hi, everyone. I'm Brett. I'm the founder and CEO of Gatsby. There's a few Gatsbys out there like Gatsby.js, but we're Gatsby.ai. And we've been around for about 7-8 years now, and we help brands convert their Instagram followers into email and SMS subscribers. So syncing Instagram data into tools like Klaviyo and Attentive and Yotpo, as well as tools like Stamped and Justuno in some forms. So you can actually give loyalty points when customers tag you on Instagram, follow you on Instagram, post TikTok content. It's taking all that social media data and syncing it to other tools you're using. So that's us. Happy to talk about certain data points today and the holidays.
Amazing. Yeah, I love the way that you guys are using that channel and getting it into the other own channels of email and SMS. It makes total sense. Thank you,
Yeah,
Brett. And
of course.
Ryan, can we get an intro from you, please?
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you all. My name is Ryan Yamamoto. I am from Tenuity, and while we function all across the triopoly, my main focus typically is going to be Amazon, both Amazon Search and DSP, but definitely touch into the other retail market channels, your Criteo, your Walmart, et cetera. But my main focus for this today with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all the mayhem involved is going to be to speak about, what can we start doing if we're not already with Amazon?
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So let's get into our first theme for today.
Wait a second, Tila.
Oh, Tila, I'm sorry. You're on this side of my screen and I totally missed you.
I'm to the left. I will introduce myself. I'm Tila. Brett kind of teed up Stamped for us a little bit. So I'm Tila. I'm the marketing lead here at Stamped. This is my third BFCM season with Stamped, so I'm well versed in all the challenges that happen with reviews and loyalty programs. Stamped is a reviews and loyalty software specifically for D2C brands. So we have 75,000 active brands using Stamped for all things reviews and loyalty. This year, we're really focused on how are you talking about those pieces in other channels. So are you using integrations like Gatsby? Are you personalizing messaging around your loyalty program? How are you designing discounts? I'm excited to share those strategies today.
Yes, thank you, Tila. Of course, a super important part of this conversation today. Thank you guys for keeping me in check. Okay, that's the first time I feel like I've ever done that, by the way. I do apologize. But I will get into our first theme today. So we're thinking about pre-holiday clean out time, kind of just making your strategies super clear and ready for how you want to tackle them for the holiday season. So our question for the panelists is, what strategies should we aim to keep and what should we test right now to ensure we're serving up the best visitors' journeys that lead to checkout? So kind of like I mentioned earlier, there's many steps to that, right? And we want you to choose your own channel or marketplace that you want to speak from. And I guess from the Justuno side, when I think about strategies, that we should test or aim to keep, I really want to advise that you tackle objection points on your website. And by objection points, that literally translates into someone exiting your website and why they would even be doing that. So it's a mix of you as a brand knowing enough of like what the pain points are that someone might not be getting on a website. And then you being able to offer up something that is enticing, whether it be different strategies around FOMO, reassurances like trust signals, or just like showcasing different parts of your website, like your return policy a little more, or reviews and UGC, which I'm sure Tila can speak to more. But just inserting those at various points where you are getting that immediate objection when someone is on the website, that's where you're going to be able to like continue the journey, a journey that is seamless, where you don't have that gap in them leaving the site. And we more focus on that same session conversion or journey. I love email and SMS. Of course, those are your own channels, and eventually someone's going to get into that cart abandonment flow for sure. But there is a step to be had before that even happens. Either you're going to get that conversion from there, and that is going to be an impactful touch point, or you're supplementing what you're doing in your offsite channels, whether it's something that feels like it's sweetening the deal or just kind of, I guess, mentioning the offer again before you mention it in those other channels can be really powerful. So that's where I'll leave us with the on-site and kind of setting the stage. I would love to take it to Ryan from Tenuity. What is your point of view on this one?
Yeah, so this is also really unique because for Amazon in particular, we just had Amazon Prime Day. And so even if you didn't actively participate, you actively participated just for the very nature of being on the channel. So we're in this really unique period where we have so much data and traffic that came through that I think one of the really important things to do, during this period of August, September, probably in October's inevitable Prime Day 2, whenever they officially announce it, but they've been doing it for the last couple of years. We expect it again. And then going into, actual Black Friday and Cyber Monday is to look at everything that we had for Prime Day, take that data, figure out what targets did and didn't work. And you might have some that had been working great for the first half of the year. Suddenly you notice a CPC spike dramatically that you didn't expect. Let's take that into consideration for, this next upcoming tentpole event. But also take that data and focus right now for these next 90 days on consideration and awareness. That's what I'm telling to a lot of my clients, because if you had a lot of clients or a lot of customers that purchased, 30 days ago on the 16th or 17th of July, they may not be ready to purchase right now again in August or September, depending upon the, lifetime of your product and whenever they need to repeat it. But come October, come November, that could be the perfect time. So build that brand awareness. I'm telling my clients to not worry as much directly on, ROAS as much as getting clicks, getting click-through rate, really optimizing all of your PDPs, making sure your A+ content looks good. And what I really want to have my clients focus on too is not just building reviews and bestseller ranks for the products that we know that work, but if you know you had a lot of purchases on your bestsellers, of course, use this for those ancillary products, for those secondaries, and see if you can drive a lot of your traffic towards building up something else in your catalog that you can bring a customer into your entire brand and not just that one product that is always going to be your bestseller every quarter and every month. So that consideration awareness piece on my end is what I think is really going to be important for people on Amazon.
I love it. And is it more of like an AOV play or product discovery play with you saying like to include those secondary products?
I mean, AOV definitely, if you can get someone, if they're definitely, like, let's say for me, if I'm going to buy green Cholula again, and this actually happened to me, I went to look for it and I saw instead there was like a sample pack with a bunch of different flavors. I absolutely grabbed both. And that would have been an AOV play from their end. McCormick, whoever does your advertising, you're killing it. But I definitely also think for just overall brand discovery and just product discovery. So for one client I have that sells a very well-scented shampoo that I particularly use myself, I'm telling him, hey, if we're also selling a lotion, let's advertise that a little bit more too when people are looking for it, and see if we can get folks to come into the greater aspect of everything in the catalog.
I love that. It translates really perfectly to landing pages, optimizing that, or just taking someone to, even if it's like you're leading them to a product page, I'll like switch to website now, but you're linking them to the review section of that product page based off of an ad. Like that's kind of what you're saying, like hints to like just being really mindful of those specific areas and those opportunities. I love it. Thank you, Ryan. Let's take it over to Brett from Gatsby. What are your thoughts on this one?
Actually, that was a great segue. We're talking about landing pages and product pages. The one area that I would contribute to this answer is actually around the social channel, of course, being Gatsby. So, like, if you're a brand that has an Instagram following, it could be 1,000 followers or 1 million followers. It's all proportional to your kind of your scale of the business. But there is a bunch of potential customers sitting in that community that are often disconnected from the rest of your channels, right? Specifically email, SMS, oftentimes even your website like Shopify, definitely your loyalty program, reviews, all of that. It's very much a silo. And it's kind of crazy because most brands are spending more money on social ads than anything else, and they don't have that connection with the rest of their owned channels. So what I'd recommend doing is using tools, either Gatsby or other tools similar to Gatsby, to actually start to drive them from Instagram directly to your website or to landing pages or to your loyalty program. And you can either use, like Gatsby has like a tool where you can have a DM automation, like a DM conversation through automated triggers that drives them directly to a product page or drives them directly into your email list right from the DM. So getting them into your welcome series flow, which will help convert them, or to a product page. And then lastly, once you have that person's Instagram connected with their email or onto your website, then you can start to personalize the experience. So I know it's going to be probably other people talk about this as well, making sure that that feels custom to them, like they feel like the brand knows who they are. So if you know their Instagram, or you know what influencer maybe drove them to your site, because that data is all syncing through this system that Gatsby can help to build for you, then you can start to say, hey, we know you follow Alex. Let's say that Alex is an influencer. Well, Alex's favorite picks are these three for the holiday this season, right? And that resonates so strong. So look at that conversion rate. I would bet my bottom dollar that would get you a higher conversion rate if you're speaking directly to that person and their interests and their social channel. So that's what I recommend doing.
Beautiful example. I mean, that can be applied like that, resonating with a certain influencer to your lead capture, to an exit offer, to that AOV boosting strategy that you have. Which ideally, like, you have that piece of creative or that asset, you're able to plug it in various places, and bam, you're creating your strategy that's based off of source ID, like kind of getting into a little bit of attribution world there.
For sure.
Thank you, Brett. I love that point of view there. Let's take it to Nava from Optimizer. What are you thinking on this one?
So I feel like I'm going to be coming out of left field with this because I'm very much centered on the paid media side. One of my big takeaways is that because Google came out that the third-party cookies are not being depreciated, people seem like they're going to continue to drag their feet on consent mode. They're going to continue to drag their feet on enhanced conversions. They're going to continue to drag their feet on actually sharing data when it comes to what the values of their conversions are. And I think this is a really big mistake because the ad platforms, by and large, do their best work, as in their best work for us, the advertisers, and ultimately the brands we serve, when we share profit information, when we share revenue information. But it's totally understandable that there's a bit of a trust issue there. So I think the biggest test we should think about going into the holiday season, going into just the mechanics of driving traffic to those amazing landing pages with amazing offers and with amazing CRO and all that amazing work is A, do we trust our conversions? Is the efficacy of the conversion actions correct? Are pixels set correctly? Are tags set correctly? Number two, are we sharing the correct values for our conversions? So during Google Marketing Live this year, Google rolled out profit-based bidding, which actually does not initiate learning periods if you're testing between profit and revenue. And they're doing this to make it easier to lean into that trust fall to share that information. So when you're working with your stakeholders, when you're working with your teams, this is an e-commerce session, so I feel very okay being like, get on the ROAS train, get on the POAS train, and with Legion it's a little bit tougher. But definitely take stock of your high margin versus low margin products and play favorites with your children is how I'll put this. If you have parts of your business that just do not do well, relegate those to extensions, relegate those to add-on products. Don't feel compelled to actually invest those dollars, because if you set reasonable goals for ROAS or POAS bidding, those do tend to outperform max conversions or focusing on getting as many conversions as possible. And then also just make sure that you, again, trust your conversion tracking. None of this works if you don't trust it. And if you know that you can't trust it, bake that into your reporting plans, bake that into your operational plans.
I love that, Nava. I had sparked a couple questions. How long would you like consider picking favorites in all of this? Like until December on? Is it even shorter?
Sure. So when it comes to e-commerce and this happy group where we all know that we have a baked-in seasonality, you typically want to start playing favorites around Prime Day into September. Like that's when you start. And then you'll finish with all of the amazing gift cards that people will get during the holiday season, typically around mid-January. Once you are into mid-January, all the favoritism should die off, in my opinion. And then you can start going back to balanced and kind of getting ready to look at what your plan will be for the next year's holiday season. But you definitely want to account for the fact that there's kind of a 1-2 punch when it comes to particularly gift card oriented brands, that if gift cards are part of your strategy, if subscriptions are part of your strategy, you definitely want to bake that in so that you don't short circuit it. So I'll throw in one more point on this.
Yeah.
The more budget you invest, the faster you will clear learning periods and the easier it is to pivot. If you're a low budget brand, and when I say low budget, that means spending less than $5,000 a month on a Google or a Microsoft or a Meta. There are some brands like Amazon has their local service or their like local non-seller ads, which that's a whole other conversation that you can get away with spending like $50 and you're fine. But typically, if you're spending less than $5,000 a month, you should be picking your favorites and staying pretty stable. If you're spending, say, 25, 30, even 40,000, you can have a little bit more volatility. And the moment you cross that $100,000 a month mark, you typically have so much data built up that the ad platform and the algorithm will understand your account, that it can pivot a little bit faster. So just know who you are, make sure that you trust your data and build in for that volatility time if you are going to be transitioning which products you choose. If there is time, I will happily talk about Performance Max and I will happily talk about all those other channels, but I want to be respectful that this is a grab bag of sessions and I don't want to dominate this with a PPC.
No, that was a great response to that. Thank you for giving direction and timeline there. That was super helpful. But yes, let's take it over to Tila on the stamp side. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I'm going to build off of what Nava was talking about for playing favorites. And that is exactly what you should do when you're thinking about discounting campaigns and visitor journey campaigns this BFCM season. What we find is that only 18% of customers who make their first purchase in November ever make a second purchase with that brand. So for you, investing all of your money in that first purchase can oftentimes be a bit of a missed opportunity where you're overspending and driving up your cost of acquisition. At Stamp, what we encourage instead is to kind of segment your audience into 3 parts. So you have your new customers, your existing customers, and then your customers in your loyalty program who are active, and you're designing different campaigns and different experiences for each of those. So with your new customers, you're really thinking top of funnel, how am I using content? How am I using PPC? How am I using social to engage those in? With your existing customers, you're thinking, how do I nudge them along in their purchase journey? Maybe that's, you know, exactly when a customer is most likely to run out of a soap that you sell or a special shampoo that you sell, and you send them a targeted email recommending that they buy that with a specific BFCM offer. Maybe that's your loyalty customers and you launch your BFCM offer to them 2 weeks before everyone else with a dedicated landing page. It's a way to kind of design experiences that will encourage repeat. The other thing that I would say is that for those net new customers, bake into every single process that you can information about your community, information about your loyalty program, send them discounts on their second purchase with their first purchase so that you're encouraging that return rate becomes a little bit higher over time.
I really liked your last note too, kind of tying that all together, giving them something to look forward to in the end. I've seen a lot more brands embrace doing that, like in all their channels. That offer is in the email, in the phone number, or yeah, in the SMS text. It's direct mail. It's on their website again. So it's like that repetitiveness really does make an impact. And it sometimes it's hard to pinpoint, right? Like which one kind of did it. I know every platform is going to like claim that attribution and claim that that was associated to them, but kind of to Nava's point with like trusting your data and that conversion data, it's also trusting that like you're going to implement these strategies and you're going to get the data behind it. And if you understand really how each platform is pulling that data, what contributes to that, you're able to paint a better picture for yourself. I know sounds like a little bit more work now, but it is meant so that, you know, come December, November, you're not thinking that everything turned out so bad. You're able to get perspective and understand how each campaign performed. I love those segments you called out too, Tila. Would you say there's like one or two segments that you see clients usually going to during the holiday season, whether it's like new customer versus not ever purchased or VIP versus any other segment?
I think that probably depends on the maturity of their lifecycle marketing function. If it's a net new brand, they're really focused on building out that audience. If you have an existing customer base, then you're focused on nurturing and re-engaging the existing audience. So it depends on age of brand and focus area in the past. If you're a newer brand, you're probably thinking about that very top of funnel piece. But as you get older and more expansive, then you can start focusing on those other segments.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think I typically see brands from year to year, like they will focus on that same segment. And if anything, we try to see, okay, how do we get even a little more granular? But that's ideally based off of everything you've done during the year to contribute to like why we would do that. Awesome. Thank you, team, for the insight on theme one. Let's take it to the second theme now. So we're talking about data. So what data points do you see brands prioritizing now? Or we could also answer, what about after the holiday? What do we see brands prioritizing? So we're going to start off with Brett from the Gatsby side. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I love this question because Gatsby is all about data, but specifically social media data. And this is kind of often a new data point that brands don't have access to until they start to dig in with a tool that shows them like, okay, which of their customers are already their followers, which are not followers, which of their followers have over 1,000 followers versus not. So going into the holidays, you know, the biggest opportunity is promoting your brand and your bundles or holiday specials through your community, right? Word of mouth, get them out through that organic channel. So if you can actually isolate which people in your Instagram community have a certain follower size, have purchased similar products before, have posted content about you in the last 30, 60, 90 days, and follow or don't follow you yet, those are kind of the top four. Get those segments built now or very soon. And then the best part is you can actually tease out your holiday promotions through social. So you can do something like this where you can do an Instagram ad, like a paid ad, or even just an organic post saying, we're going to give our VIP members early access to the 2024 BFCM deals. Sign up below for SMS to access this, right? And that alone is not an original idea of giving SMS members an earlier access to the deal, but using Instagram to fuel that channel is what's an opportunity here, especially going into the holidays. So that's what I would say again, is looking to see which of your customers have a high follower size so you can promote your deals through them, which follow you or don't follow you yet and get that follower, who's posted content recently about your brand. And that whole set of data is the most important part right now to look into.
That is so insightful. Thank you for that. That's pretty clear on who we'd want to tap into right now. And I think that leads us nicely kind of getting into paid still with Nava. What are you thinking on this one?
So it's really interesting. A lot of people will focus on ROAS or even profit over revenue, but lifetime value is really becoming a universal language. And The only way that we can get that accurately is if we actually feed that into the system. So this is kind of a question of, are you willing to share that amazing source of truth data with the ad platform? If the answer is yes, you will get amazing improvements to your optimization, but the price you pay is that they now know that information. So you have to kind of weigh that, the pros and cons of that. The other major mechanic, though, that I think not enough people are paying attention to is impression share, and whether that impression share is lost due to rank or to budget. Now, impression share, for those who don't know, is of all available impressions, how many are you actually getting? When you're losing it due to budget, that's the ad platform telling you, hey, you know what? If you spent a little bit more money with me, you could get these impressions. If you're losing it due to rank, that means, hey, you know what? Your budget's fine. There are some structural issues. However, a lot of folks will actually struggle even to, they'll get the impression share loss due to budget, but it's actually a rank issue. So if you're seeing that your impression share is lost due to anything and that you're sub 30% impression share, odds are you either have duplicate keywords, you're being forced to underbid due to your bidding strategy, or there's just some other structural issue that you need to address. Now, one of my favorite tips for this is there's something called portfolio bidding strategies that you actually can add into your Google bidding or into your Google bidding strategy, your Google campaigns, that will allow you to introduce not only a bid cap to make sure that your bids don't exceed a certain budget, but also a floor to ensure that you actually can rank high enough to enter the auction. So while bid caps and bid floors and goals may not always be the best answer, like sometimes they underperform, sometimes they overperform. If your impression share is truly struggling and that's the reason why you're leaving money on the table, that's a very big reason to put those in place. The final thing I'll say, and then this leads into something that SJ asked me to talk about during one of our next topics, is auction insights. So when you see that certain competitors are coming into a certain series of queries, or that a competitor is coming into your market, you have a choice. You can either compete with them and go to battle and you might win, you might lose, or you can look for cheaper variants or other ways of addressing that market without directly competing with them. Because in a lot of cases, dumb money will be spent, including quite a bit of it from Amazon and other marketplaces, to weasel into those search result pages to take that market share. So consider whether you want to compete with the people you're competing with and whether it's intentional competition or not. And if you have that opportunity to pivot. So yes, pay attention to your return on ad spend. Yes, pay attention to your cost per acquisition. But I think there's some other functional metrics that are really critical that if you ignore them, you're going to tank your account. And if you celebrate them and honor them, you'll succeed.
What a great way to put that, functional. Like, and thank you for giving us kind of that action that we can take right now and giving us all that great insight. That's definitely a world that I am not in, paid stuff. So you're like blowing my mind with all this. But I resonate or connect it to that on-site experience, like especially that impression rate that you're talking about, or how did you term it? Impression share. And kind of how that translates to what you're doing on your website if you have those pop-ups. Like you should be worried about the impression rate, who actually is seeing your pop-ups. Like, are you a little too segmented? Is it too broad? And the classic experience on site is you get a lead capture immediately when you get on a website. But you don't have to follow, those kinds of strategies. You can be more strategized and get the impressions you want, but at a really good time for the customer. Thank you for that, Nava. I appreciate that. Let's take it over to Tila on the stamped side. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, we had a lot of different ways that we were thinking about answering this for data points. We were thinking about loyalty program engagement, on-site conversion, LTV, but I wanted to zoom out and give you all like a very simple tip to change for every single merchant before BFCM season. And that is an easy tactic to update your review request sequence. So obviously, collecting reviews is super important to e-commerce brands so that you can use them in ads, on social, you can use them for search engine optimization. And what we see are that brands collect 260% more reviews from purchases made during that BFCM weekend than any other time of the year, but these are the lowest quality reviews of the year. So oftentimes they are about, oh, I don't actually have my product yet. or they're a 1-star for shipping issues, or they're more about, I bought this as a gift for someone else. So what we're coaching every merchant who uses Stamp to do is to adjust your review request to be sent after fulfillment and to adjust that timing window when you would send that first email or SMS message. So maybe normally you send 2 weeks after fulfillment just to allow for a buffer period. Give it 3 or 4 weeks during BFCM if you know that traditionally you bump into shipping issues. And then you can also think about having clear content in your review request that is asking for feedback on the product or the brand and not the shipping experience. Obviously, you're going to want to adjust this after the holiday season, but it's a really quick data point so that you're collecting higher quality reviews during that season and during that kind of period of November to mid-January, so that when you're prepping all your campaigns in January, February, and March, you actually have really reliable UGC to use. What we don't want to see is that you're collecting reviews that are all about delivery service issues, example. And then when people are searching your brand and we're having our kind of SEO performance, that it ends up being about that as about product, which will impact that conversion on those paid ads.
I gotcha. So it's a lot about clarity and timing for right now.
Clarity and timing on reviews.
Through to January, you would say?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're in it for a bit, guys. Thank you, Tila. I appreciate that insight. I think you all gave really great data points. We'll take it to Tenuity. Ryan, what are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, so that was really cool. I hadn't actually thought about that at all before, Tila, so that's really interesting. I have a small thing to say about like Amazon reviews in one of the next themes, but for right now, what I was saying prior to, I think what's really going to be important are your engagement metrics. I think looking at, the clicks that you're getting, and I think click-through rate on particular, on Amazon, individual sponsored products is going to be really important, because if you do notice there's something wrong with the PDP, or there's something about the way that your sponsored product is popping up that is not having people click into it, now is the time to fix it, because by the time it's the holiday, it's going to be too late. So I think watching a trend in your click-through rate is going to be really important on the marketplace for, again, these next, 90 days. I also think that, kind of to what Nava was saying, share of voice is a huge thing on Amazon right now. And so making sure that you are there on the page, that you are there on preferably the first page, top of search if you can, if you want to use your modifiers correctly, that's a really big deal, because again, if we want someone to purchase us, hopefully with a promo on Black Friday, they have to know we exist, and preferably have to know that we've existed before they're searching on the site day of, because shopper fatigue can be a really big thing too. If anyone's just only looking through the site and discovering day of, we want them to know that we've existed for at least the last 30, 60, again, 90 days starting now. So that I think is a really big one with the engagement piece of things. Another data point is that allocation of spend and the investment that's put towards not just individual products, but also your generic non-branded terms. And then also what you're putting towards just your overall brand name. Because we do want to see that our brand name grows. We would love to see that more people are searching for us, clicking for us, more glance views on our pages. But we also want to see that we're growing in, being discoverable in something generic. So again, if I have a shampoo client, I love to see that my brand name is getting more engagement, but I'd also love to see if we're getting more for just people looking for, men's shampoo or, women's decurling or, whatever it happens to be. So that's a big piece. And then also to prioritize right now is the path to purchase. So I think that data point is really huge. And if you don't have Amazon Marketing Cloud AMC set up for your account, if you have an AE or a vendor manager, if you're a seller, you can often ask them. And if they have time, they can send it to you. But it's been really great to show with some clients to see with that, multi-touch attribution, that maybe the final point, the last touch, was a sponsored product. But before that, they had seen a video and they had seen a banner ad. And like, that's really nice to show, because it maybe doesn't translate directly into ROAS when you're like, hey, these banner ads are maybe not working as well as I want. But it's great then to see that, oh no, customers are seeing that the majority of the time before they go and eventually purchase. And it just gives a lot more validation and merit to the overall ad strategy.
That's so cool that you can get that visual to actually see those kind of micro conversions happening on the Amazon side.
AMC is fantastic. Absolutely.
That's so cool. Okay. You answered a question that I was going to have, but I did just want to point it out, like on Amazon, at least, it's a little different in that maybe you're not prioritizing highlighting the brand name as much. It sounds like you're more focused on products and their placement and getting those in people's eyes. So it's interesting to hear you also talk about like we want them to have known about us for a little bit of time. And it's like, do you try to incorporate other channels in those Amazon strategies, or is it just about the Amazon experience there?
No, absolutely. And so like Amazon too can extend even to TV. So what we did too for Prime Day, which was really great with a couple clients, is we even tested running on OLV, as well as Amazon has their own sponsored TV now. There's so many different channels that can touch, but we had a client that we knew which products we were going to run promos on for Prime Day. And so in the 15 days prior, we ran a TV campaign just showing those off. We didn't necessarily say these are going to be on promo or whatnot, but we really just helped push the exposure of them, and then did see an increase in their purchases on Prime Day once they were there with the discount and whatnot. So it definitely can extend off Amazon if you're running DSP, or even if you're on Amazon, you can run the sponsor display ad type that can go off site. Definitely huge there. And we have a client that runs on paid search that drives to a D2C site that then also has a buy on Amazon button. So they definitely all speak to each other.
Back and forth. I love that. I had a client one time, it was an exit offer, and we were showing some really awesome reviews. And then we had a CTA to say, go see the Amazon reviews too, because Amazon had the best reviews. And so it was like they were willing to do that strategy. And it's like kind of not until you see it, you're like, why or how, you want to keep them in one channel. But it is all about connecting them. And if that's where the awesome reviews live and they can still get a good deal, like we do have to trust too, like shoppers, or I would say most shoppers, are accustomed to having to bounce around maybe to purchase one product, whether it's research or them just, trying to get themselves to make the decision.
Absolutely. I'll do the same thing, right? Where I have the same product on Target and Walmart and the D2C, and just try to figure out if there's a strong difference. So absolutely.
I love it. There's a product that I buy on Amazon, and there's a website for it too. And someone asked me like, why don't you do it this? And it's like, I remember when I researched long ago that was the channel that worked for me. I don't even remember what, but like that stuck with me. So maybe they don't remember, but they remember that that's the easiest way to do it. Fabulous wrap up on that one. We'll take it into the third theme. This will probably be the last one we get to, guys, and then we'll get into our special offers at the end, since we've got about 15 minutes left. I do see some questions being answered in the chat. Thank you, everybody. So our third theme, what is your approach or stance on site-wide offers versus segmented offers, which we've already heard some good pros for segmented stuff. So we're kind of thinking here, VIP traffic, paid traffic, maybe coming from Amazon, which I don't think we could. I'd have to see what the link through is like to see if like there's a UTM attached, Ryan, but I'm assuming you can track that click through. And then how do you see brands manage these efficiently? So kind of a two-parter. And we'll start with you, Nava. Can you take us away here?
I absolutely can. And Evagina, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. We'll continue the chat in chat after I answer this. So my answer to this is totally dependent on how much you trust your data. So if you know that you can trust the sources, you absolutely should use targeted offers. The core issue is most people don't actually say yes to cookie compliance tracking, that you would actually be able to know who's coming. So even though third-party cookies are still there and there's still that technically path forward, many websites are going to have to reconcile with the fact that you can't have perfect knowledge of who's landing on your site and perfectly messaging to them. So it's always safe, and it's the most risk-averse path to have an offer that is universally applicable and that you are okay putting forward to everybody. Now, if you trust your data, and if you're working with an amazing partner like Justuno or an amazing partner like Stamped, obviously Gatsby and Tenuity have amazing resources for this as well. Yes, you absolutely can have some beautiful CRO and some beautiful offers and do all that work. Where I would caution on too targeted of an offer is that sometimes if you're too specific, you actually alienate someone. And I'll give a really good example of this. I am an avid dog lover. in like 5-6 years, I will not be in marketing. I will be running a dog rescue on a big plot of land, and I'm going to rescue all the dogs, and it's going to be great. I have 3 rescue dogs at home. The problem is Chewy keeps thinking that I'm rescuing a brand new dog because all of the signals from Facebook of me reposting all these rescue dogs to me responding on various forums, talking about rescue dogs, they think I have a new dog versus my 3 rescue dogs, which some of them I've had now at this point 6 years. So the messaging that they're serving to me and the kind of promotions that they're serving to me are not correct because they're making some assumptions off of the data that's being fed in. So you just have to be prepared that when you get super specific with your messaging, you run the risk of being wrong. So if your messaging is innocent and it's fine, have fun, be segmented, be targeted. The data says that being targeted is good, but just know that you can't have perfect confidence that you're speaking to exactly who you think you are.
Perfect direction there. That I've had similar questions come up just on, how does that tracking and even happen? What is the best way? And it's kind of like, what are you willing to live with in the end? What is just gonna, okay, that's how it is. And there are cases for sure, just with across technology where that comes up. So thank you, Nava, for giving us just that fresh breath of it's okay. It's not always going to be the right message, of course, but you're trying your hardest and you're trying to get those signals out of everything. Lovely. Let's take it over to Tila from Stamped. What are you thinking here?
Yeah. Building off of what Nava said about trusting it and having some brands that know their data really well and some that don't, we looked into different types of offers that are being given. So is it site-wide discount, segmented, specific discount? And we found that only 43% of brands are actually doing segmented discount, 57% do the site-wide offer during BFCM weekend. So the amount of people who have that kind of reliability of data is significantly smaller. And what we found was that actually the loyalty program can be one of the strongest ways to build off of that. People enroll and then engaged amongst it. And you can see repeat purchase, you can see revenue earned based on different discounting strategy. So I'm going to give you 3 discounting types that are very common for different industries. The first is a percentage off discount. And what we find is that this can boost AOV during BFCM weekend by 46%. So that's our kind of like universal 20% off any purchase is the best performing one during a BFCM weekend. The second is a free shipping type discount, and this performs really well for something that has a lower AOV value. So maybe you're selling on average just 1 shampoo per purchase or just 1 bar of soap per purchase. Giving free shipping for that first purchase can increase that conversion rate pretty significantly. And then the third type is to really look into variable discounts. Variable discounts. So if you buy this many items, get this many discounts. If you buy 3 items, you're going to get 20% off. If you buy 4 items, you're going to get 30% off. This performs really well for health and beauty brands and for wellness brands in particular, because there you want to kind of increase those first purchases or the volume of items ordered so that when you're running your re-engagement campaigns at the end, you can really tap into multiple products and be able to have different touch points with the customer.
Lovely. That's just straight data, factual stuff there, Tila. Thank you. And that's going to be this insights report that you've shared?
Absolutely. It's all in there with recommendations for industry based on 2023 trends and then also forecasts from a survey that we did with our customers.
Oh, you guys are the best. I can't wait to share this out. I'm throwing it in chat right now, guys. If you haven't seen that already. Thank you, Tila, for giving us fantastic direction there. With it being August, I mean, I would say you still have a good 30 days where you could A/B test different offers. This is direction. Not everything works, as we're saying it does. So however you can approach testing, whether it's testing a specific segment that you have in mind and wanting to see what that's like, or just testing an overall site, I think the perfect place from like a proactive point of view is trying out your cart abandonment, your exit rate, or your exit approaches so that you can keep people on site and just knowing like what actually leads to that.
Absolutely. You can also look back on your data from last year, from 2023, and look at who made a repurchase after that first weekend, and then look at your discounting and the cost per acquisition for that segment compared to customers who didn't make a repurchase.
Oh, that's perfect. Take it away, guys. These are great insights. Okay, so let's get into Tenuity's point of view. Ryan, what are you thinking on this one?
So this is a little bit different with Amazon because you're not necessarily able to just direct to one particular user and say like, hey, I can give you a discount and not just have it across the site, unless it's maybe Prime versus not Prime, but more often than not, most people are probably Prime members. So instead, I'll kind of answer this a little bit differently in terms of the promo itself. And so Tila, I love what you said. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said that the best discount was 20%, right? Okay.
It could be any percentage off, but a percentage off is what performs better than a fixed amount or a free gift or free shipping.
Yeah. And so I was going to say on that too is, one thing even coming off of Prime Day that we were noticing is that there's always the question from clients of, what should we do as a discount if we're going to do one? And the first answer, which can always be annoying, is, well, it depends upon that individual product's margin, right? You don't want to discount something to a point where you're not making any money on it unless you're okay with that, because maybe you're trying to use that as a loss leader or something like that. But definitely notice that if you can have a greater discount, let's say it's 20%, that can be better than just doing a 5% or a $5 offer, right? Yeah, it depends. The tagline of the internet, absolutely, Nava. But when it comes to those promos, coupons can always be very effective when you're trying to run it across strike throughs, or when it comes to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, the Prime exclusive discounts, the PEDs, anything on Amazon that can have a badge and pop more, we find works effectively. And I think that can make a lot of sense, right? As you're going through the site, you're seeing so much. Every extra additional little flag, tag, badge really can help with that conversion. And so one thing that, my account managers and myself will do on those days is just go and make sure that if we do have a discount running, the proper badging is showing, because sometimes it doesn't. You have to reach out to your vendor manager, whoever it is, to help get that fixed. But one thing I want to say about promos too, and forgive me if there's a Amtrak that anyone can hear in the background, sorry. But one thing that's important for promos too is to know that if you're selling on Amazon, if you do have a lower price on a different site, that can affect that Amazon performance. And so Amazon will scrape and see that if they are not the lowest price, or at least matching the lowest price across other channels, including D2C, then they might suppress an advertisement. So that might be okay if you're planning on having a greater D2C push for whatever period of time. But we've noticed that with some makeup brands where I'll pop into an account and notice that a lot of our ads are being suppressed because there's a giant Ulta promotion or something like that. So I want to use this because, again, there's not exactly the VIP or not on Amazon to target, but just to say that as you are targeting other, which I'm not saying at all not to do, keep in mind how that might affect something like Amazon.
Okay, so not so much specific offers, but just how it fits into all the channel offers that you may have. And automatically, it sounds like Amazon will just always be the best, or try to be the best.
And if they're not, they will try to suppress your advertisement until you're able to come back. So you might lose that buy box, or you might, be unable to. So I've had that again with a client. It's like, we're doing absolutely wonderful in Ulta and Sephora. Why is Amazon doing so poorly? And there's a direct correlation between those.
And do these brands, Ryan, if you can give some insight, like, do they go into the holiday kind of knowing where everything's going to stack up and what's going to be the driver, or is it just changing all the time?
Second anthem of the internet is I wish. It definitely can, change. We try to anticipate it as much as we can.
Gotcha. Okay. Preparing. Yeah. Looking at past years, I'm sure. That's a great insight. I had no idea it was so, I don't know, I guess cutthroat, trying to get the best offer out there. And that's funny because, I'm always talking about the website being the source of truth and having that being the best that you can give. But of course, that just goes against an Amazon strategy. So another, can we live with it? It's going to happen. Thank you, Ryan. Let's take it over to Brett from Gatsby. What are you thinking on this one?
A couple quick thoughts. I know we're almost at time here. One of my things every year that I like to talk about when it comes to Black Friday promotions is my personal experience being frustrated with trying to make sure, kind of to Ryan's point, like getting the best offer, the best price. And I've had experiences at large e-commerce brands where I'll buy on Friday or Saturday, and then I find out Monday's a better deal. And it just irks me super. I mean, I don't shop there anymore. Like, it just bothers me so much. And even though it's like 5% difference, it's just, I don't know, something about it, right? So
Yeah.
I love the idea of using your channels, whether it be an email, an SMS, a social post, a loyalty program like Stamped, to say, lock in the guaranteed best deal this holiday season. Like, we promise you, there is not going to be a better deal. Don't wait till Monday. Don't play the gamble. I think it's a really good and I think missed opportunity. A lot of brands do. They kind of gamify it, but we're all busy. We all have a lot of things going on. We don't want to gamify our price. We just want to know we're getting the best value for our holiday shopping. So that's one really important point. That's just anecdotal from me. And then secondly, on anecdotes, you know, I still carry like this coffee shop punch card around with me because it's my favorite place to buy coffee beans, and they only do punch cards. And I keep having to get new punch cards because I never remember it. And then I have to have them combine them all when I get there. But at the end of the day, I'm getting one free bag after like 10 purchases. It's probably a total savings of $20 out of like $200 spent. And I'll go to the effort to actually maintain that free bag because I've earned it, right? So there's a sense of earning, like you want to know you're earning something. And so when it comes to like site-wide versus segmented, if you can give your consumers something that they can do to earn a discount, you're going to have a higher conversion rate on that discount. So that's where social comes in as well, especially with like, ask customers to follow you, ask them to promote your brand on social media. Use a tool like Stamped with Gatsby to say you will get 100 loyalty points when you post content about our brand before Friday. And then that could all be automated through the Gatsby Stamped integration. And that will give them this code that they then value because they've done something for it. So that's my kind of anecdotal as well as professional thoughts on those items.
Awesome thoughts. I love that shout out to your guys' integration. That sounds amazing. It's just doing the work for you at that point. And what a great way to kind of pivot what offers can do, you know, and where they can take you. Like you get into that feedback loop area there. And like all that UGC kind of mentioned earlier, that's exactly what you want to plug into different touch points on site. You you mentioned like everything that you mentioned, Brett, it just made me feel like you just love honest marketing. You love when it's straightforward and simple and I'm doing the work, you hook me up. I love it. And that's like kind of the classic thing you should do for the holidays. Keep it simple, be straightforward. Don't be afraid to put the details out there so that someone knows what they're getting into. And there's a lot of strategic ways you can do that. I know depending on mobile, desktop, things like that, and like channels they're coming from, maybe you don't have as much real estate to work with. But if you're prioritizing, you know, a really clear message across channels, then that's what's going to help each message really come across as clear. Thank you, team. We got through our 3 primary themes. I'm going to hop to the end here for some special offers for everyone, and then we'll wrap it up. So from the Justuno side, we have a free conversion audit. So ideally, we're going to talk about what your traffic is doing, what that source data is telling us, and where you can really prioritize different messaging on your website to get someone from point A to conversion, and then getting into ideally customer lifetime value. And then from Ryan's side, on the Tenuity side, we have a free holiday insights conversation. So that's going to give you some really good direction on holiday campaigns. And Ryan, you were amazing. Everyone was awesome today. So if you want to catch up with any of us, just hit the survey at the end here when I close out. And then feel free to connect with any of us afterwards. We would be happy to talk.